I'm like black on the inside, white on the outside.
And I've always
Obviously
been called
you didn't
an
know
Oreo.
that yet.
My whole life, I've been called white on the inside. Black on the outside.
The dream team. Hey guys, welcome back to the Midheaven podcast. My name is Candice Marie.
And I am the peace dealer.
Yo, we're here to, usually I say analyze the stars for you, but in this situation, we are analyzing each other. We're kind of going back and forth, playing with ideas for like concepts for some of these episodes. And I thought it would be great to do a Confessions of an Astrologer episode. Uh-oh, that's right. So
here we go.
We're going to get into the nitty gritty of like what it's like to do our job, the ups, the downs, the experiences, the LOL moments, the scary, oh my God, did that person really say that moments, and a little bit more insight into how we work.
Right.
I
love doing what we do, by the way. I think it's taboo. It's mysterious. It's hard to even put like a label on it. But I feel like with what we do, we can simultaneously feel like a superhero or like a villain. Because like to some people, we like illuminate and bring clarity, and then to some other people we worship the fucking devil and we're like bad people. So like
I just keep waiting for like, you know, like for like the, what is it, the they're not Mormons, what are they, Jehovah's Witness. I'm like waiting for them to show up at the front yard, you know, and just like see some of the weird shit that I have in the front. I'm just like waiting to like answer with like some horns and like a Judas Priest shirt on that's like, you know.
Right.
I was going to start saying some lines from The Exorcist, but they're not very PG, so I'll stop. So I thought it'd be fun to ask each other questions. And so I guess kind of riffing off of that, one thing that comes to mind is like, okay, so number one, you said that you could be seen as the hero or the villain.
Yeah.
How do you identify as the hero or the villain?
I love that. So I truly believe that there's no such things as heroes and villains, right? Because you can be the hero, but then you're the villain to someone else. But in that context, I like to think of myself as the anti-villain or the anti-hero.
The anti-hero.
Yeah.
So you want to be like the vigilante?
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
But more so, I don't want to really indulge too much in like Machiavellianism, or like a chaotic neutral, but more so just not being limited in doing what has to be done, for sure. But I don't know. I don't even want to say villain or hero as much as anti, for sure.
Just neutral.
If I have to be. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I go from being moderate to radical, like real quick. So that's a really good question. But I mean, yeah, that's another thing about what I appreciate about what we do, because doctors have to get an exam, lawyers have to go to like a bar exam, like even therapists have to get some type of certificate or certification. So, you know, now where anyone can kind of just read a book and go on YouTube and become an astrologer, like be a tarot card reader. We don't have like research institutions. We have like ancient wisdom and esoteric lore, and we don't have like accreditation. So I think it's really awesome that you and I are kind of like legit or super legit and really good at what we do, because it's not really, we're not afforded the same security and safety as others are.
A lot of like scammy online courses would disagree. And like, here I go. You ready for this? I'm like waiting for the day when this stuff is not hyped. Right? Mm-hmm. Because like some people know my story, some people don't. I'll spare you. But basically like my job wholeheartedly saved me. Like legit, like it really did. And when I think about that, I started learning astrology and tarot, you know, over 14, 15 years ago, and that was just my thing. Like, I didn't know anything about my chart. I didn't know anything about astrology. I knew that I was super, super in tune to stuff. I saw dead people. I picked up on stuff. I would have dreams about the future. I had a whole weird series of like going into a different occupation and had like an identity crisis and was like, this isn't me. Went back to reading tarot regularly just for me as a form of like self-healing, which manifested to people coming to me for readings. And then people would show up at my house. And then after a year, I was like, I'm going to quit my day job. Like, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to give myself a year to make this happen because this is my passion. And everybody thought I was crazy. And here I am 8 years later. Right? Mm-hmm. And like, accreditation is a weird thing because, you know, tarot and astrology, it's esoteric, but it's very different. And I come from a background and a belief system, me personally, that you are who you train with. So there is some aspect to paying homage and giving appreciation and having loyalty to your mentors and to your teachers. Like, it's not something where you can take a 2-week online course and you're like, boom, I'm a tarot reader, right? Like,
exactly.
And I tell my students, and like to this day, I still carry around my favorite book ever. If you're learning tarot, Dusty White, The Easiest Way to Learn Tarot Ever. It's an amazing book. But I recommend that to my beginning students, and 78 Degrees of Wisdom. Yeah. And I will continue to always have like a beginner's book around me because I don't feel like I ever stop learning. But what annoys me the most right now about this community is the fact that anybody can start a YouTube, get online, be like, yes, I'm a tarot reader. What people don't realize at the end of the day is like, unless you have the chops mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, you're not going to hang. At all. You just can't.
Some people wonder why it doesn't work for them. Like, you can have the talent, but can you run a business? And, you know, one thing I appreciate about you especially, and people who have been in this for a few years at least, because now it's getting a little mainstream and like it's really easy to learn a little bit of the basics, right? But like, we embraced this during a time where it wasn't popular. People would really openly think you're crazy, like, and like, which I kind of appreciate as far as the grind, but like, it's not, it definitely shows the difference between one who may know it, which is another thing. A lot of people think that just because they know a lot about it, that gives them the license to offer therapy or advise people. And it helped me truly appreciate practice, like knowing something versus practicing something, and putting in those 10,000 hours.
Yeah, you're the second person who's talked about that, which I think is very interesting because, so like for me, it's like I'm coming up on 8 years as being a business owner. Right. I'm 31. So like I reflect on like my 20s and I'm like, what the fuck did I do? Oh, I started a business. Right. Yeah. Right? I started a business and that business took over my life and it saved me and I'm grateful for it. But I'm all about, like I said, giving back to my teachers and like some of the most amazing readers that I've read with, whether they're a tarot reader, a psychic, an astrologer, a bone reader, a palm reader, a tea leaf reader. These are the people who aren't necessarily seeking the mainstream. Exactly. Maybe it's like my Aquarius North Node and shit, but I'm just kind of likewise. Like, you know, I really am not genuinely aiming to get the spotlight. And I don't talk about that a lot because like I'm friendly for the most part. Some days. But I don't genuinely like being on camera. I don't genuinely like being seen. Yeah. I am not the most friendly person. I'm a little prickly. But something about working with people on a regular basis and helping them through their day-to-day life and their struggles, I don't know, it just like jives. So I wish more of the community would like focus less on like, oh, I'm verified and like I have so many followers and I have this and I have that, and more on like, this is who I studied with. This is my mentor. Like, this is who taught me everything. And living in a world where we get immediate gratification. We can go through the drive-through and get a burger. Really, we can go and you can swipe on any knowledge or information. Tinder. You can get any information. And that's why you're seeing some shit on TikTok with some astrologers stealing some shit. And that's why you're seeing some stuff online where people are accusing people of taking stuff. Like, I'm waiting for this fad to die down. Not because I don't believe in it, but I want to be the person who's not focusing on my social media. So 30 years from now, I'm a published author and I'm lecturing and I'm doing super well because I focused more on the craft and less on, I think, the exposure.
Right. Talent and character are different things, right? Like, and I think that's what misleads so many people. When you look on someone's Instagram and you see they have all these followers, or you see that they have this charisma about them and they're very talented. You know what I'm saying? The concept of someone reading your cards. It's like, wow, this is what I was feeling. And you put that in words, and you can get enamored that you trust someone you've never met. And you think that just because someone is talented at reading your chart or reading your cards, that they have good character. And there's a lot of people who like get scammed by people out here who'll take your money and not really, you know. So just like she said, who have you practiced with, but also what work have you put in? Like, what's your track record? Do you have any good testimonies? Are people, like, I won't name any names, but you know, there's some.
I'm not gonna name any names.
Popular YouTubers
stay
with
out of it because I'm not trying to start any
over hundreds
YouTube
of thousands of subscribers, featured on the New York Times,
But we live in a day and age where you can have really excellent marketing and media skills, and you get that one video that's just executed beautifully, and like, there's no shame in that. Like, if you can do that and that's your talent, great.
Yeah.
But me personally, and what grinds my gears, is we have a moral obligation to show up and serve the community. Like, I don't know about you. I don't think this is the case for you at all, actually, because you're doing just as much work as me. But like, people don't realize, you know, I see clients 4 or 5 days a week. I talk to 5, 6, 7, 8 people a day. Right. I have a full-time job. This is my job.
Right.
So when we show up and we're here giving people advice, it's not always just like, oh, is he going to come back and blah, blah, blah. We'll get into that. We get a lot of that. But it's also like, I'm losing my job. What do I do? My father died. My wife is leaving me. Suddenly you're realizing that you're going bankrupt, or you're having a complete midlife crisis. Like, it's a moral obligation on our behalf to show up, be authentic, be honest, be the best, be on the top of our game, and to give people the best, most sound advice possible. I don't jive with people who are like, yo, I'm just gonna fucking go online and throw cards and do cards live, if they don't know what they're doing.
And that's another reason why I deeply respect people who conduct this with integrity. Like, I deal with so many people who look at what we do like it's a fraud, and that I'm automatically a con man because I'm talking about the effect of planets and how they affect people, even though that's not simply the only way that conduces natal chart interpretation, right? But to have to deal with other people that are flashy online and like put this semblance out of knowledge, but then hit on women while they're giving readings. It makes it that much harder to kind of do this and not be put in that box. Like, you're going to use this craft to kind of like get feels on people.
For sure. But I mean, people are going to do that to an extent
in any profession.
They're going to use that to their advantage. Have you had somebody who has said to you, what do you do for a living? And then you tell them?
That's actually something that I've been asking myself, what would I say? And it's only now, because now I'm a registered employer in Nevada, right? Woo-hoo. Full time, right? So
welcome to the club.
Right. I technically can go the like I own this LLC or what route, but I'm training myself to be like, oh, I'm a magician. I'm a professional magician. Like I kind of want to be out there with the.
But have you said that though?
I have in certain ways, or I'll be like, I'm an astrologer or counselor.
What do they say?
I haven't really been in a situation yet where, because I've been most of the times people are kind of open about it or kind of believe it. So they'll be like,
here, is this here?
Yeah.
Or is this California? Because California doesn't count. Right. California, they're like, oh, you're a spiritualist, you're a shaman, you're a magician. Like, I know somebody who does that.
Exactly. Right,
it's not like that in the rest of the country, let alone the rest of the world.
So it's not necessarily like before when I was in El Paso, Texas, or before when I was starting to do this, I wouldn't necessarily say that, but that was before I was working it like a job too. So I couldn't really say like it was what I was doing super professionally. But like, you know, it's something I kind of want to push the boundaries of and be like, oh yeah, I'm a professional magician. Like
I love
miracles
that.
Happen. Like,
can you make a card that has the magician on it?
I would love that.
I feel like you should. You want to know something how I started? This is very fascinating. So when I started my business, like I knew there's like a whole backstory, but like when I named my business Beyond the Veil, whatever, I knew I was like, I need to find a way to get people interested in the magic and the appeal of this, because people weren't like, oh, tarot readings or whatever, like back in 2012, 2013. So I remember starting my business, and I took my business cards and I actually punched holes in all of my business cards, and I tied it up with ribbon, and I went and bought several packs of tarot cards, and I left the cards all over LA.
What?
With the intention that people would just at a bus stop, on the street, whatever, randomly be like, what is that? And pick up this tarot card. And then be like, oh,
not
it has
a deck, but different cards.
Yeah, different cards.
Nice. That's
yeah,
awesome.
And I spread them all over LA. With hopes that I was like, look, this is super magical. Like, people are going to get whatever they're meant to get. And they're going to reach out. And they're going to call me. And, like, sure enough, I would get the Hierophant that would come in who's telling me how they're going through law school. Or I would, you know, get the Lover's card who happens to be a twin. Or the Three of Swords who's a widow whose husband just died. I mean, like, magic is real.
Right.
Like, that's the thing that I keep thinking about. That's like, awesome. Okay, that's what keeps me going is this ability to be able to shine a light on a profession, which in all honesty does not always have the best reputation, but so many of my clients actually recently, in recent years, have been clients that have gone to other readers who have been told, you have a curse, you need to buy these candles, you need to buy this bath, you've got this and that going on, you need this chakra clearing, you need this and you need that. And I feel strongly that while there is a sometimes negative stigma behind what we do, it gives me like motivation to go out there and be like, listen, like as a reader, our job, and this is what you want in a good reader, it's our job to come out there and basically be like, look, we're going to read you to filth. We're going to tell you what's really going on, what you need to hear, and not blow smoke up your ass. And it's also our job to come out and talk to you about what you need to do to get on track. Mm-hmm. And focus on all of the tools that we can talk to you about or give you to help you heal and find your own way forward. Yeah. Like a good reader is not going to be somebody who gives you breadcrumbs and then they're like, well, you have to call me in a month. A good reader is going to be like
a lot. And once again, like there's no, like if there was some kind of regulation, then there would be less of this. So you can't really critique the field when there's no regulation, right? Like Dr. Love was in the news because he had a whole practice, but he didn't have he wasn't officially a doctor. But you can do that for tarot reading or some kind of like, which is understandable, right? But I mean, at the end of the day, like it's just very revealing because, how do I say it? I remember being on Keen. There we go. I remember actually being a Keen reader before I was going full time, which that's where I'm at in my business. Like I want to be a provider of a network of psychics and practitioners, right? That's I just like that concept. It's very like Aquarian and Northern Aquarius, right? But being on Keen, California Psychics, I would always like try out different psychics, right? Yeah. And like there's so much cold reading and play in these readings where like these people get so much money telling people what they want to hear. And like I can lie, make stuff up, and they're gonna be very compelling. And it's like they're not really telling you anything specific. It's a lot of Barnum statements. And the craziest thing about that too is the comments are all like, oh my gosh, this person is such a good reader.
Well, I mean, with readings, you can get some very ambiguous comments and statements, which could, I mean, to play, I mean, because I'm through and through, like, I am majorly somebody who is a critic or somebody who's gonna want to poke holes in the theory. Like, I feel like everybody should question whether or not it's real.
No, but like this is where what lends to a lot of people saying that it's fake. So this is what I really appreciate, where from my experience too, all the like best readers, it's not even that what they say is vague. Like nothing they say is a Barnum statement, because they speak on incredibly specific things that you couldn't even have brought up. And it's just like, I think it's really amazing for anybody out there watching this too, that's making a living or putting in work to build this field. It's still a growing industry. It's a profession that's existed for a long time, but we're a part of the generation that's actually gonna like legitimize its existence
make
as an
it
industry.
the Saturn, Neptune,
oh my god,
Uranus,
in Capricorn.
A lot of people, it's weird because like, I took a break from YouTube. My Saturn return was rough, and I didn't want to be on camera for a lot of reasons. And it's weird because like the one thing that kind of got me through was just occasionally from time to time signing in, and I got so much love. Like after 2.5 years, I saw like over 15,000 views on my Uranus, Saturn, Neptune video, and a lot of like over 200 comments. And I was like, wow, okay, so people really think that this is good. And this was just something that I nerded out over, but it made me realize like we are the people who are going to come and legitimize this. It is going to be us that's going to do that. And we have that benefit of the Capricorn of the more structured, this is how we make it a business. But the Uranus Neptune is also kind of free and all inclusive. And I don't know, I'm just excited to see the future of it, because I know that anybody who's doing it successfully, there's no way that they could be successful without the support of spirit. Like spirit like knows like good from bad or right from wrong, or somebody who's really doing well in this type of work. They have to be showing up and they have to be authentic. And I'm also really excited to see the ways that astrology or metaphysics evolve as a result of some of those aspects and some of those natal charts, because you and I, like, we're a triple threat. We're a triple threat. Like, some people really focus on astrology their whole life, which is amazing. And some people really focus on, like Kabbalah, Hermetics, or Tarot. And then other people are like, I'm just straight up a clairvoyant. And like, well, we have all three.
I'm getting that human design going into. Which
is so fascinating, because I've been learning more about human design. What are you?
Projector.
I'm a projector too. I am. I'm a projector. And I really am a projector.
That's why.
Yeah, like I realized that the more that I learned about it, I was like, oh, projectors are just supposed to be. They're not supposed to work more than a couple hours a day. And they get overwhelmed. And when they do, they have to lay down.
The best reading I've ever had in my life, the 2 human design readings were from Pisces. And like, she just like dragged me for filth in the best way ever though. And she was just like, oh yeah, you're a projector. Like, you're not even supposed to do menial chores or like, also clean.
Yeah.
Cook.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm like, why does this make the most sense ever? And waiting, and it's tied to astrology, because like waiting for the invitation.
Right.
I have Mars in Aries, but in the 12th house.
Moon's in Aries.
So every time I try and like take the first move or
it's slow. It's like
I have to just let go and just wait for an invitation.
It wasn't until I learned about, I'm so glad you're talking about this, first of all. It wasn't until I learned about human design, I think about 2.5, 3 years ago. Like, I was already in the flow, of like when Saturn went through Scorpio, being like, I gotta let go. Like, this isn't working. I gotta make changes. But when I learned about human design recently, a couple years ago, I was like, oh, I get overwhelmed. I shouldn't be working more than 3-4 hours a day. When I get overwhelmed, I need to like literally get horizontal. I need to lay down. I need to relax. I need to decompress. And when I focus more on just being clear, people show up because they're going to need help, and I project onto other people
and feeling others' feelings too, and thinking they're yours. That liberated me. I was like, oh, these aren't my feelings.
That's the Neptune Saturn stuff.
That too.
I mean, come on. But I love how it mirrors astrology. And then when I started learning, like, I just need to show up every day, be the best version of myself, be ready to help other people. And when I have that mindset, it's going to flow. And when I went through a huge shift, actually 5 years ago, and then when I learned about human design 3 years ago, I was like, I'm going to give this a shot. And it really worked. It worked in my life. It made me realized that it's okay for certain people to leave my life, for certain opportunities to leave my life. And it brought some of the best people to me. And it brought me to such more fulfilling life and work experiences that I'm like, fuck yeah, human design.
Apparently it's for the new gen, and it's very fascinating to me because I think projectors are like 20% of like the nation or something.
Yeah,
like that.
and then you have the manifestors and the manifesting generators, but we're still rare, baby. We're rare. We're super rare. They're not ready for us yet.
I thought I was gonna be able to learn human design really quick.
No, I'm not.
I only know like this,
which is weird because
like
the astrology language is very vast, and people can talk about stuff in astrology that I know a little bit about, and I'm like, bing, I'm like a super freak with it. I have Venus. I have my chart ruler conjunct Uranus. But I feel like human design is a whole other aspect. It's great because I feel like it gives me hope that we are evolving. And as humanity evolves, we're going to have more projectors and more manifestors. And it almost like gives me that confirmation that's like what I'm doing is good. Like I'm doing good.
Yeah. And, you know, also it's revolutionary. Like there's an understated facet of which is mirrored by what a lot of people are doing, even in traditional fields, and innovating it. But a lot of what we're doing is we're going to be able to look back on it as just purely revolutionary, as far as like literally creating a new highway system and path and network and channel.
Oh yeah, for sure. And bridging the gap between what is it's like spiritual capitalism. I hate saying that, but in a way it is. It's taking and bringing all of the metaphysical side and the spiritual side and integrating that into business and showing how business can be so much better, fuller, functional, more capable of being able to, I think, reap more rewards when we have happy employees. So what I love about our astrology is that we were kind of ahead of the curve where we got with the times before. We talked about this previously. Before the pandemic happened or anything happened, like we were already used to working in a solitary state. And many other people outside of these astrological aspects that I've seen, especially like some of the people who have Pluto and other placements in Virgo, we're also benefiting from that. Those are our mentors. Those are the way showers for us. We gotta give it up for you guys.
Yeah, they came through. And it's even more profound because, like, considering everything we're awakening and stepping into, like, I'm just really more mind blown because if we take into account, like, the Neptune and how we're grounding these aspects of business. I know you brought up Pluto Virgo and how they're also coming into this sense of like at least reaping from this.
Yeah, for sure. Because now they're going to feel more comfortable flying their freak flag. I mean,
and just opening up.
Some of my mentors and some of my, one of my oldest mentors who I've had for 8-9 years is 75 years old. And then my 2 astrology daddies are like all like 63 to 66. So it's like these people grew up in a different time where it was like they had to forge their own way. They had to make their own way. It was not like you could get online
and cast charts without the internet.
Right. Like you couldn't Google stuff. Like it was weird back then, like getting into the healing and all of this stuff. But they paved the way for us to be able to do what we can do simultaneously. When you think about like all the conjunctions in the late 60s, we had the Pluto-Uranus conjunction, and it was like women entering the workforce, vegetarianism, contraceptives, burning your bras, lots of like, fuck it, fly your freak flag. So those people are coming into some similar energies with all this Pluto, Saturn stuff that was in Capricorn recently, and like Uranus and Taurus. And now they're helping support us and make that happen. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the future. Even though I kind of say I'm ready for this to die down, whether it's making space for this what is it called again? What is it?
The what?
The charts that people are casting for the energy with their body. What's it called?
Oh, the human design chart. Yeah.
Human design, astrology.
And new modalities.
Yeah, there's new modalities coming. For sure.
Which, I mean, I'm just super excited about for all sorts of reasons. Oh, yeah. That's one thing I really love about, once again, what we do. I wanted to echo on how you were speaking on, like, you know, doing this when we did this. Because, like, not only that, but I appreciate the struggle we went through this, because everything about what I do as an astrologer, or like this, was everything we were told could never happen, or expressly. I remember expressly a tarot reader a long time ago, like, advising, oh yeah, you can't make a living off of this. And he wasn't trying to hate, he was being very concerned. Like, he was an older person. He's like, yeah. And to actually, like, not only be full time, but like create, I feel like we're industry leaders too. And we're defining what's successful here.
I'm not going to brag, but I will. Shameless plug.
Humble brag.
But I mean, like, really, when I started my Instagram, and I started this back in 2013, there was no verification. There was no Instagram business. There was nothing. It was me being like, yo, I need to share this with the world. So I'm going to start an Instagram purely about my process with everything that inspires me and astrology. And it was tarot and astrology and everything. And it was like, if I wanted to post my cards for the day, or if I happened to be in East Hollywood at 2 a.m. and I was drunk on the side of the street, and I happened to walk up on a bunch of cards that were playing cards thrown all over the floor, I would snap a picture of it, because I'm like, that's spirit. And it ended up being a thing, and people picked up on it. And like, I don't feel the need to overly emphasize and put a lot of attention into promoting my social media, because like I said, I think that social media is kind of like a virus, and it's like, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, you know, fucking MySpace, whatever, Twitter, the rise and fall is going to happen. And like, I'll post memes. That's what I'm here for. Like, that's what I really love to do, because I feel like people need to laugh. But I want to be more focused on being here in 30 years.
Yeah.
Like, I'm looking forward to my second Saturn's return, because I feel like that's going to be my real, like, major glow up. But yeah, like, I've had readers tell me that too. Like what you said, I've had readers tell me, are you sure this is what you want to do? Like, it's going to come a point where you're sitting in a room day in and day out telling other people about their life, and when are you going to live yours? Right? And not a lot of people can make it work the way that we do.
Which is what I'm so grateful about, doing stuff like this and being tapped into your purpose, because this isn't something everyone's called to do, and or is meant to do, or
can do.
There's a lot of people you deal with in this industry or practice that really can complicate things and really test your boundaries. I had to learn a lot about drawing boundaries.
I'm still learning about boundaries.
Yeah, likewise.
I'm still learning about boundaries. Granted, it's like, you know, I've had clients for so long. I have some people I've been reading for 8 years. And I was like, some of these people are some of my best friends. You know? So there are some people that I will be more lenient with. And I think that one of the best things my mentor told me was, like, how you start is how you end. And it never really made sense to me. And now, you know, 6, 7, 8 years down the line, I'm like, should have been better with this boundary, and should have been better with that boundary, and should have been better with this. And it's hard to, I think, emotionally separate yourself sometimes from clients. But at the end of the day, you kind of have to, not only for your own sanity, but also for being the most sound, non-judgmental, non-biased mind in the reading, because our job is to tell you what spirit is saying. We are the vessel for the message. We're you in another form.
Exactly. Yeah.
But we're the vessel. So sometimes things come out and it's just like, look, you're fucking up. You know?
And then you try and shuffle the deck and then it comes out again. Like, yeah, we really meant that. Like,
It's not an easy position to be in. It weighs heavy on a regular basis, but I also wouldn't have it any other way because I feel like now that I've drank the Kool-Aid, there's no way I could go back to Muggle land. Like, there's no going back at this point. Like, I can't go back. Like, I'm educated, I'm smart, I know a lot about a lot of other things, I have a lot of other interests, but I don't feel like I could go back to having a normal job at this point. Do you ever feel like that?
It's weird for me because everything about how I've been able to work here is just it was attached to just super weird scenarios where like I had to make the decision. The first time I made my YouTube channel, I was under Clearsight. When I was kind of like dabbling with doing horoscopes and learning this, and then like my uncle had convinced me to like delete my YouTube channel because at the time I was living with him in Kansas and I was going to KU, and I wanted to know more about my great grandfather on my mother's grandfather. On her father's side.
Do you think there's anything to that? Like,
was a witch doctor.
Ancestrally, like there are some things that are just embedded in you that's like, you're going to do this work. Whether you do it out there, or you're going to do it on a personal level. Like, do you feel that?
Oh, absolutely. The basis of what you're asking is what I was wondering, because it's like my parents like became Christian, so they don't believe in all that, right? They felt like that's
born again
witchcraft. Well, I know my grandpa married that person. My great grandfather's son, right? Of course, married my grandma by converting to Christianity.
Okay.
Some people feel that's why he died early or whatever.
Whoa.
So like I'm now returning to this and I wanted to know more about like him, right? I was like, what is it about him? My Aquarius uncle walks up less than 24 hours later like I'm the reincarnation of your great grandfather, and everything in this life can be explained by science, even what you call magic or whatever. And he was talking about how aliens came down and basically helped found my great grandparents' village and all that, and
that's some heavy shit.
It is, but what it ended up doing was him saying that, oh, you know, you don't have to do all this astrology, just get your degree and then I'll bring you into this side of spirituality or whatever. And I deleted my YouTube channel. And then I don't know how, but then I ended up creating the Peace Dealer, what I have 2014. I made the Shopify page. And I got kicked out my uncle's house because it's not as simple as that. Like, it was just I was supposed to like shovel the snow. I didn't. He saw me on the YouTube channel and he's like, I thought I told you to delete YouTube. You either delete this or you can get out my house. And then I was just like, all right, I have to go. And this is when, at that time, I was on Soul Garden. This is when I first, right? So like
Christopher Witecki.
Exactly. Shout out to Christopher.
I get those texts every day. I love you.
That's what's up. Shout out to Serious Joy.
I'm waiting for those texts crucial. Where it's like, yo, like, Candace, you're gonna be crazy for the next 2 hours, and I was like, aye, roger that.
Shout out to Serious Joy. Come
yeah,
right on
I love
time.
that. The Step Astrology.
So I was a part of Soul Garden, and there was someone in Kansas who I went to see, and like he instantly, shout out to Matt, he instantly called people to like see if they can like hook me up. This is when I first got introduced to couch surfing, and like my uncle dropped me off to his place, and he was able to call someone who needed their car driven from Wichita to Venice Beach. So that's how
that's a setup. That's a spirit setup. Right
oh
there.
yeah, that taught me like, okay, when you live your path, like the universe has your back. And then when I like fast forward to 2016, when I moved here to Vegas, I was working a job in a psychic shop. Karma Connection, shout out to Karma Connection. I met my high school friend. Shout out to Linda. She was dating Chris Santos at the time, and like they took us out, and that was my first night partying in Vegas. We went to the strip club. He was handing me like wads of hundreds, and I'd never been to Vegas or strip club before, so I'm like, I went to see the Leo King actually for his convention. That's why I moved out here. I was like, oh shit, I've never been here before. This is amazing, blah blah blah. And like, I ended up getting a business license so I can work, because you can't really do readings unless you have like a business license, because you have to be like certified or whatever. So I had read there they paid daily, and I remember the week that I didn't work there anymore, I heard this is your last week there. And I'm like, how? I'm not going to quit. This is dope. They pay me daily. That week, I talked to 2 people. The first one was looking for her dad who left her life. And I was like, shit, I'm on the hot seat. Like, what do I tell her? Like, I'm used to just pulling a card. And I like intuitively pick up a country in like South America. And she looks at me and she's like, that's the last place that I heard from him.
Doesn't that freak you out?
Straight up.
Doesn't that freak you out? Like, there are some situations that I have on a regular basis where, like, you know, spirit super surprises me. I don't know. I feel like I have to kind of keep laughing when these things happen.
Yeah.
I guess I'm less aware of the messages for me. I've been trying to be more in tune to that recently, but when it just never ceases to amaze me when I get on a call with somebody and, you know, I clear and I open space and I open my Akashic records and I sit down and I've never spoken to this person before and I say something like, your guides are really proud of you because you've managed to maintain 6 months of sobriety. And I'm like, I can't fucking say this to this person that I've never spoken to ever. Like, ever.
This is not a Barnum
ever.
statement. This is not some vague statement that you're just kind of shooting in the dark. That
it's crazy.
It applies to everybody.
To me, it's crazy because I'm like, you know, the way that my guides work, they're like, look, Candace, if you don't say this, we're not going to deliver the rest of the message. And I'm like,
we ain't going to fuck with you, Candace.
Session, so you need to come through.
If you don't say this, you're not gang anymore, Candace.
Right. And then I'll be like, your guides are really proud of you for being sober. And then suddenly there's like a blank pause on the other line. And then somebody's like kind of weeping in the background. And then tells me how they've been sober for 6 months and how they're getting ready to decide if they're going to become a sober ally or if they're going to go and start taking courses to assist people and be a therapist for people who are trying to get sober. Like, spirit works in mysterious ways, and for that I'm forever thankful, and it never ceases to amaze me.
The last reading I had, by the way, at Karma Connection was a woman whose brother just died, and she wanted to see me. She had to see me. She didn't know what I looked like. She was just like, I need to see that person back there. Cool. She comes back and tells me I look exactly like her brother who just died. And that very weekend, I get fired because my friend invites me out to the strip club again and I make it late and she's like, don't even come in. And that same week, my YouTube and like where I was working with Lada at the time, shout out to Astrologer, and I was working with Lauren and I make so much money, and it's like the first time I ever made that money that much week. I didn't have to work a job ever again.
Right. I mean like what's cool for me, I mean, it's similar to that, is like I've had 2 separate occasions. You know, I worked for a very long time at the Los Angeles Echo Park location of House of Intuition. I was there for like 4 or 5 years, and I taught classes and I did sessions. And really that was kind of like where I kind of like, I think like kind of broke through and went from being private practice to being the new kid on the block and being super young and like picking up the shifts and like doing readings, and over the span of several years like teaching classes and like seeing my clientele to the point where like I walked in like I owned that place and I was super fucking busy all the time, which is great. And I made some of my best friends. Like my assistant came from there, 2 or 3, 4 of my best friends now I met while I was working there. I'm so thankful for it, and it ended up being such an amazing thing. But similar to other people, when you get readings, like we get messages too. Like when it's like, I mean, I've been hit with things that's like, listen, bitch, this has got to end. And I'm like, no, like that can't happen. And it doesn't make sense. And like I push back on it. And whether I get it in my daily tarot card readings or my dreams or like something that'll just intuitively come to me repetitively, like spirit has a very sick sense of humor. But I've learned to take those trust falls and realize that certain things do come up and I do get those messages before it happens. And a lot of it is because I need to be ahead of the curve to help other people. I can't be stuck in this 3rd dimension bullshit. But also like simultaneously, it's every time I take a chance and I like learn to trust that, I feel like I go a little bit deeper into my like connection to source, which has been really awesome because I learned to take that trust fall and go, this doesn't make sense. I don't know how it's going to manifest. I don't understand. Why am I doing this? Is this really a good idea? And then the energy prevails, and I realized that it was actually the best thing that could have happened.
True that.
You know? So learning to take those spirit trust falls, I think, is like super, super important. And yeah, it's been really magical for me lately.
So how many clients have been obsessed with you and got readings to because you know there's the clients that are like, oh, I need to get a reading so I can talk to my crush, and this is the only way.
Like obsessed in a sense of like they need my guidance, or obsessed like they want to
like obsessed with you. Like I've had to refund a reading because I know like this is someone who sent me a nude before they bought the reading. It was in person, so like, I had to just.
I have never had a man send me a nude before they got a reading. That's probably for the better, because like the Scorpio side of me would be like, let's see what you're working with. No, but I'm not gonna lie. Like I really do kind of like get a good chuckle out of like men that are really, I mean, because I've had guys that are very much like, oh, you're a tarot reader and you're so mysterious and you're this and you're that. And like they're into that, but like that doesn't like, that's not like something that makes me feel good. Mm-hmm. But I have had that.
Yeah.
I've had a lot. I don't even know. I was not expecting that question. I've had a lot of men that I feel like have reached out to me because they felt physically attracted to me. Mm-hmm. I've had a lot of men that have reached out to me also because they like the sound of my voice, which makes sense because I have Sun, Pluto, and Mercury conjunct. I feel like being a Sun, Pluto, I exude a lot of sexual energy, but I'm actually very shy. And I can think of about maybe 5 separate situations. Yeah, about 5 over the last couple of years where there were people who were super obsessed with me.
Word.
That I had to cut off, or people who were
definitely obsessed with your guidance too. I could definitely.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm never gonna cross that boundary of being like super sexual with somebody. Mm-hmm. If they get that vibe, that's on them. But I feel like I really try to keep it super professional, and I don't feel like I could ever engage in a relationship or romantic connection with somebody who I've given guidance to, because it's automatically gonna go against everything that I'm trying to set up. Do I appreciate that? Sure. Do I feel kind of awkward? Very much so. But I try to kind of keep it at arm's length. And if somebody does cross that, then they get put on the ban list, which has happened with not just with men, but with women too.
Women too, yeah. I definitely feel it'd be awesome to do a episode or talk about misconceptions about being an astrologer too, because a lot of people think that, first of all, we're very gifted at being psychics, and we're very gifted at being astrologers. A lot of people think that means, oh, well, wouldn't you be a millionaire already? Because if you know what's going to happen, then you'd be like super rich. And it's like,
you just have to make like $275 a day to be grossing
6 figures.
6 figures. I mean, it's not that complicated to hit that, and not just in our occupation, but in any occupation. So in reality, like, sure you could, but same with Edgar Cayce or other prophets who are super famous. Like, once you abuse it, you lose it.
True that.
You know, so it's like, can I predict things? Sure. If it's super close to me, can I predict it? Not necessarily. I can't always see the future for myself. I can interpret the astrology. I can pull my cards, but to some extent, it's like having a superpower that you can use on everybody else but yourself. So you can't use it on yourself. I don't know about you, but like I have a tarot reader, I have a psychic, and I have an astrologer. Like I have my crew. But in the last year, I've been like, okay, I had a reading in 2019 that told me how my life was going to go up until 32. Mm-hmm. And like, I'm really sitting with, and I've been mulling over and thinking about it a lot. Like, are we really supposed to know the future? Like, are we? Because sometimes in knowing the future, it's helpful because you know what's coming and how to navigate it. In that sense, it's great. But there are some things that I know that I'm like, oh my God, I wish I didn't know that, because now I'm constantly thinking, how is that going to manifest and how do I navigate that? And it's not the right time. And I don't know if people are supposed to know the future. I want to shift away from being somebody who is the soothsayer and move more into the spiritual counselor, who's more like, look, this is like why it's happening.
Right.
This is how you navigate it.
I don't consider us like fortune tellers as much as like incorporating divination, but
But we can, like, we
Yeah.
can do that. Like, I can
we
look at
wanted to.
dates on a chart and go,
And be super accurate too.
yeah.
But I think
Yeah.
there's a difference between knowing the future and being revealed the future.
And the future is fluid also because you have free will. So a lot
Right.
of things are going to be determined off of other people. But I don't know.
Or potentiality or possibility.
Or interpretation.
Because like you can be revealed something that I know, especially from experience, when it comes to clairvoyant or future things. These aren't things that I decided to know. Oh, I want to know this is going to happen. I haven't reached that, like, I haven't unlocked that mastery. But usually it's revealed to me, which lets me know that it's a more conduit of the experience, right? I was meant to kind of, like, express that versus, like, which I say lightly because some people got it like that. And I feel like with this awakening now, we're pushing that narrative between the ethics, between what is privacy and, you know, which a lot of people do and kind of just push the boundaries on being able to dig in people's private information or reading about them and stuff like that. But I mean, that's what I love about the culture too, because it's just another level of juicy where you can just like uncover stuff. And
It's a weird time where I feel like even this podcast in itself, like I went back and forth with it and was like, okay, I've been really cautious and careful and particular with how I communicate, the media that I make, the appearance that I make. Like I joke around, I'm sarcastic, like I'm funny, but I'm also super heady about my practice. But I've been very restrained with how I want to come across because I don't want to create a certain image. But that really stems from this perspective that's like, if you're in the spiritual sphere and you're giving, you know, advice for a living, then you need to be this, this, and this, right? But I'm not. Like, I'm not a vegan. I don't live on air and sunshine. I don't do yoga 24/7. I am not sober. I don't feel the need to confine myself to that. And I've struggled with going back and forth and being like, okay, well, this is who I really am. So now it's like this rebirth of like being super authentic and trying to make spirituality something that's very digestible for the everyday person. Because that's what's ultimately what's going to resonate with the audience.
That's what I've learned too, doing what we do. It's like I've learned to hate the terms anything community, like Black community, but especially spiritual community, only because this allows you to like put someone in a box. When you say I'm part of the spiritual community, then you put everything that I do under the filter of what you think the spiritual community means to you, when everything that we speak on applies to everybody.
I feel like a little bit of like a rebel. Like I don't fit in either realm.
And I love that because, you know, North Aquarius rebel, right?
And I want to be that. I want to be that because I want to be somebody who's authentic. And I feel like every single time I start to be like, oh no, you need to kind of tone it down or do this or do that. Because if you've had a session with me, you know I'm like super like all there, super reserved, like really compassionate and plugged in. But there's this other side of me that's like, we need to learn through experience and we need to learn to laugh at ourselves and not take things so seriously and start breaking down these confines of believing that spirituality needs to be a certain way.
A certain way, right. Yeah. And redefining it.
We need to, because without doing that, we start to become too dogmatic and rigid in our beliefs, and that's really very much age of Pisces, and it's judgmental, and it's not allowing us to be who we really are. And in a way, the spiritual connection is something that comes from being authentic. So when you're connecting to your inner self or your higher self or whatever that is actually genuinely you, that's what's going to manifest. You're going to see that. So I feel like we're starting to slowly break the belief system of what it means to be plugged in and what it means to be spiritual. And it's a good thing. There are good things that are coming from it.
Oh, absolutely. And learning to see the spiritual and the mundane and how everything's magical and pertaining to spirit.
Everything, like literally.
Yeah.
Like literally to where I'm seeing license plates, I'm seeing numerical sequences, I'm getting the numbers regularly. Like I almost wonder, like when I'm not seeing like the number sequences on a regular basis, I'm like, oh, am I off track?
Oh, word.
Right?
Yeah. I don't know a day where I don't see them. I feel like those are like, it's amazing to me because it used to be like that you see one and that was the highlight of the day versus you seeing it like every hour?
Now my like messages from spirit are so consistent that I learned to just laugh and go, okay, cool, great, thanks.
And you can anticipate them too.
Yeah.
And expect them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
crazy.
time's changing. Things are speeding up. Like Saturn's in Aquarius, so we're definitely seeing that. But I don't know. It's been interesting to like chat about this and get more insight, and maybe help you guys see a little bit more into like our thought process with some of this stuff. I have a feeling we're going to come back and talk more about this in terms of like what our routine is like in terms of our spiritual practice. That would be interesting.
That would be.
Yeah. Because I have like so many questions. I want to hear all about your Nigeria journey. I'm going to be honest. I have like a dashiki and like everything ready for it. You ready for it?
I'll wear my traditional wear.
Can we do a traditional wear episode?
That was actually a very crazy trip.
I want to hear all about it. I'm very fascinated by that, in the same way that I know you have some questions about magical things.
I do.
I'll let you in on that.
Which I just find fascinating because like the Ifa and all the like Orisha come from my country, and then to see you embracing and having knowledge of it more than I do, it's just kind of like
I'm like black on the inside, white on the outside.
And I've always
Obviously
been called
you didn't
an
know
Oreo.
that yet.
My whole life I've been called white on the inside.
The dream team, the fucking Oreo team.
Word. She's Aries moon, fire. I'm Earth moon, air. That's kind of crazy. It's interesting.
We should do that. Because have you had an Ifa reading?
I've had someone with the Mano de Arula.
Okay.
But I didn't even know you can give those. I would be honored.
Yeah, we should talk about it. I've got some stories.
Like they've had the actual shells and they flip. Yep.
I've had it. Let's just say, well, that'll be a whole other segment.
Consulta, and it was accurate.
Numerous consults that manifested as something that's very real.
Right. And
very real.
Those have been some of the most on point readings.
Right.
With no tarot cards,
Nothing. Just like they open up a book and they tell you what the fuck is up, basically.
Throw some cowrie shells.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh shit.
Oh, well, I'm so excited for that.
How did you know my mother was a doctor? I didn't tell you that. Like, what the hell? That's crazy.
Definitely. Well, with mine, it was like, why do you have a gun in your house? So, to be continued. I live in Nevada. I don't want to hear about it.
Oh shit.
Okay, this was an awesome episode.
Agreed.
Thank you for having that chit chat. We will be back very soon next week. Stay tuned for our next episode. Until next time, I'm Candice Marie.
I'm Michael.
Stay tuned for more of the Midheaven podcast, where we analyze the stars for you.